Christopher Columbus is an Italian sailor of the end of the 15th and the beginning of the 16th century in the service of the Spanish Catholic monarch. He is certain to be able to join the kingdoms of India by the west. The biggest sailor of all times but mediocre politician, Christopher Columbus appears as a sailor thirsty for adventures. He tries to convert with roughness peoples whom he discovers in the Caribbean Sea. Columbus makes between 1492 and 1504 four other trips, favour to which he discovered the archipelago of Cuba, Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and the southeast coast of Central America.
On October 12, 1492, after 2 long sea months, Christopher Columbus and his crew put their feet on an island of the Bahamas. The generous sailor believes to have reached Asia of Spaces, and for that reason he called the Indians the first native of meeting. 6 months earlier, Christopher Columbus, in Spanish Cristobal Colon, convinced the Spanish sovereigns to support him in this crazy project to reach Asia of Spaces in navigator westward throughout the Atlantic Ocean. Hardly of their support and thanks to the material help of 2 ship owners, the brother Pinzon, Christopher Columbus was able to arm 1 carack, Santa Maria, and 2 caravels named La Niña and La Pinta. The departure takes place on August 3, 1492. After a stopover in the Canary Archipelago, the Spanish ownership the Flints turned darker toward the southwest by following trade winds. Crews soon worry about the absence of ground. On October 10th, they are exhausted and on the point to rebel, but finally, after 36 days of navigation, the watchtower of La Pinta showed for good Tierra. Ships accost on a small island baptized San Salvador by the Spanish crew of Columbus. Because of their nudity, the native women attract them. It will be worth to them returning in Europe without knowing it a terrible venereal disease, the syphilis. In return, the Europeans bring to the inhabitants of this new world disease as a missile which are going to decimate them in a few years, more certainly than arquebuses and swords. Ships don't linger and continue towards what will later be known as the island of Cuba. An homonymity of names convinces Christopher Columbus that it is near the Chinese Empire of the Big King.
Ferdinand Magellan led the first expedition to sail all the way around the world. He also discovered a passage from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean that is today called Straits of Magellan.
Ferdinand Magellan was born in 1480 in northern Portugal. He grew up in a wealthy family and served as a page in the royal court. Magellan had traveled to India by sailing around Africa, but he had the idea that there may be another route by traveling west and around the Americas. The King of Portugal didn't agree and argued with Magellan. Finally, Magellan went to the King Charles V of Spain, who agreed to fund the trip. In September of 1519, Magellan set sail in his attempt to find another route to Eastern Asia. There were over 270 men and 5 ships under his command. As Magellan's ships sailed south, the weather turned bad and cold. On top of that, they had not brought enough food. Some of the sailors decided to mutiny and tried to steal 3 of the ships. Magellan fought back, however, he had the leaders executed. Magellan continued to sail south. Soon he found the passage he was searching. He called the passage the All Saints Channel. Today, it is called the Straits of Magellan. Finally, he entered into a new ocean, on the other side of the New World. He called the ocean the Pacifico, meaning peaceful. Now that they were on the other side of South America, the ship sailed for China. There were only 3 ships left at this point, as the Santiago had sunk and the San Antonio had disappeared. Magellan thought it would only take a few days to cross the Pacific Ocean. He was wrong. It took nearly 4 months for the ships to make it to the Mariana Islands. They barely made it and nearly starved during the voyage. After stocking up on supplies, the ships headed to the Philippines. Magellan became involved in an argument between local tribes. He and around 40 of his men were killed in a battle. Unfortunately, Magellan would not see the end of his historic journey. Only one of the original 5 ships made it back to Spain. It was Victoria, captained by John Sebastian Elcano. It returned in September of 1822, 3 years after first leaving. There were only 18 surviving sailors, but they had made the first trip around the world.